Now, a year ago, if you would have asked me how I would be ranking these three different cameras that I have here, which is the A7 III, the Fuji XT3, and the Canon EOS R, it would have been an obvious answer for me because, a little bit over a year ago, I picked up my first full-frame camera, which was the A7 III. But since that time, I've tried the XT3 out, I've tried the XH1 out, and I've tried out the EOS R. So with that being said, I thought in today's video what I'd do is I'd rank these cameras and kind of give you the pros, cons. I did a similar video with the XT3 versus the XH1, and that's kind of the reason why the XH1 is not in this conversation right now, because you can see my thoughts, but spoiler, the XT3 kind of won that battle in my opinion. So if you want to see that, like I said, you can click the link in the description box or above. But with that being said, they all have great things that they offer. There's no perfect camera. I told you, like, the perfect camera would probably just take parts from each of these cameras to make that happen. But there's no perfect camera, so none of these cameras are exactly 100% perfect. But which one is better? Which one's better for you? Which one's better for me? Let's discuss it. Alright, before I get started, I'm going to quickly list out some of the pros, cons, and different aspects of these cameras, and kind of give you a visual idea of what these cameras have to offer. So I'm just going to go through it really quickly and just give you an idea of what these cameras have to offer. Dual card slots, no dual card slot. 4K 60, 10-bit internal, in-body image stabilization, electronic in-body image stabilization, no stabilization, 120 frames per second, full HD 1080p, baby, 120 frames per second, but limited in 720p, and also loses the autofocus. No 4K crop or slightish crop, huge 4K crop, no fully articulating flippy screen, great battery life is not good. 400 plus megabytes a second bit rate, 100 megabytes per second bit rate. Fully functional touchscreen. Both of these have touchscreens, but it's very, very limited. I think you guys got a visual representation of what these cameras have to offer. And one thing that I've learned over the course of the last year or so is that you can't use specs as a determining factor. Oh yeah, I want to shout out the Vegeta shirt, trying to keep that DBZ thing going, But anyways, you can't use specs as a determining factor when deciding on the camera necessarily. You got to go what feels right to you. So with that being said, the Sony is going to be ranked last place, and that's something that I never thought I'd be saying, because this camera, in my opinion, is the best hybrid camera because it's very functional as a photo and a video camera. But unfortunately, after my experiences using these other two cameras here on the table, I have to rank it last. Also, another thing about this camera that kind of takes some points away from it is the grip. Like, this is one of the worst feeling grips that I've had on any cameras that I've used. Now, the XT3 has a very shallow grip. You barely have anything there, but I really like the way that feels. So this is a great hybrid camera, but unfortunately, I'm going to put this at the bottom of the list. Now, what are these two cameras for? I have these two left. One of these is number one of these is number two. So I'm gonna tell you what I think these two cameras are for. This one, I think this is a perfect travel camera because it is a crop sensor camera, which means that the kit is gonna ultimately be a lot smaller than if you were using a full frame. But the other thing about this, until I used this crop sensor camera, I thought crop sensor cameras were kind of, on the lower end, but this kind of proved me wrong because the quality that comes out of this camera is just outstanding. And I don't know why I'm talking like this, but that's how great this camera is. It makes me talk like that. But anyways, it's a great travel camera all around, and it has some great lenses. The only thing that I wish that it had that it doesn't have is a fully articulating touchscreen and a in-body image stabilization or electronic in-body image stabilization. And this camera, who is this camera for? I say vloggers. Discounting the size, it's a big camera, but it's a great vlogging camera because of this articulating screen. Also a YouTuber because you don't need any additional monitors or anything like that just to set your situation up, set your studio up. So you just set your camera system up. You got a screen that you can see yourself on. You can frame your shot up. You can check your exposure. You got everything good to go. So for YouTube, vlogging, this is the perfect camera for that. Which one of these is number one? Which one of these is number two? Now, I debated this for a while. If I had to today pick a winner, it's going to be the EOS R. And the main reason being because of that fully articulating touchscreen, making it very easy for me. I'm a one-man crew and I ain't got no, I do everything by myself. I shoot all my videos by myself and I set everything up by myself. And not that I'm the biggest vlogger, but studio situation, it still helps having that flip screen and also having that electronic stabilization. Even though it's not the greatest, having an electronic instead of the actual in-body, it's still decent, and it actually is a lot better than having, not having anything at all like this. Now I understand that the XT3 doesn't have IBIS because, of the size, but I think maybe they will in the future firmware update put electronic image stabilization, and maybe in the XH2 or in the future XT camera they will get that fully articulating screen. But until that day comes, I'm sorry, but Fuji cannot be the winner, and that means that, like I said, the Canon EOS R, the least spec'd out of these cameras, happens to come into the first place, even though I've had this the least amount of time. But it's had a huge impact on me. That 15 to 35, I'm loving that lens. This 15 to 35, I'm loving it. It's a great lens. It's pretty much the perfect wide angle zoom. I've been wanting a zoom like this, a wide angle zoom that was 2.8 and stabilized, and this just fills the boat. But anyways, it's not about this lens, it's about these cameras. So, in conclusion, all three great cameras. You can never go wrong if you get any of these systems. You buy into the Sony system, great hybrid camera. It's gonna be great for video, great for photos. Fuji, they get some crazy color profiles. It's amazing. You're not gonna go wrong with photos or videos. And in fact, I'm probably gonna use this more for photos, but I wanna do a few more videos with this thing though. And lastly, if you need those specs, this might not be a perfect match for you, but if you don't care about the specs, I would say go try this camera out, get it in your hand and see how it feels, and you might like it. So I did. So anyways, hopefully you guys like this video, my little ranking video of these three cameras. And if you did, and maybe you got something out of this, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, leaving a like, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.